went back to Sweden. So when my dad got out of the hospital, he was on his own, no job. He heard about opportunities for Scandinavians in the Northwest, Oregon, Washington, in the lumber industry. So according to, he never really did say this, but he didn't say it wasn't true. He took a freight train, I'm sure, from New York to Oregon and got a job there. Getting kind of windy. Anyway. Never I was pretty interested in what I was saying. Well, it's the country, the nation, our city, our towns were built on immigrants. I mean, this is the way that it was done in those days, and perhaps maybe it should be looked at again. I don't know. I'm a first generation American. Hallelujah! I'm glad to be here.
I think of all the speakers, I am the youngest. And we came here in 55.
I'm Margie Sister Keck. I'll say that because my grandfather came to America from Switzerland in 1869, and he was a manufacturer of knitted goods, and he started a big company in San Francisco, the J.J. Pfister Knitting Company, and he did very well until the 18th of April in 1906, when the earthquake leveled his factory, and the next day his store, and the next day his house, and the fire finished it. All right. And he then came over to Berkeley and built a building for a factory at 8th and Parker in Berkeley. The building is still there, and they built a house across the street for his wife and his son, my father. And then I was born in that house, but a couple of years later, my parents moved the house. And I always think about this because my father explained it very carefully. They moved the house, the building, the factory had to be sold because it was after World War I, and there was a big depression, and they had to go out of business. But the house was moved on rollers, like a big log on rollers, pulled by one mule, my father said, and pulled up Dwight Way, up to Maple Street and over Maple to Derby Street, where it is now. That's the house I was born in. My sister was born after it was moved. But it was really something. And my mother's people came from Germany. My grandfather was a baker, and he had a bakery in San Francisco. And that's probably where I learned to do a lot of baking, or why it's something we all love to do. But it was part of our growing up to be proud of where the family had come from. But we always were eager to talk about the immigrants, as he was saying, and always eager to talk about how things happened in San Francisco after the earthquake and fire leveled everything and burned a lot of it. My mother was 18 or 16, and my father was 17, and he was at Cal by that time. But we really had quite a time keeping going because everything had been lost. And I remember my father and mother saying, all right, yeah, but you can't spend that. You can't buy that, because that was all there was to it. But we had the house, and we had a big yard, and we grew vegetables and fruit. And it was great growing up in that era. I was born in 21, and it was great growing up in that era. We went to a school, as I say, you said, where the boys learned shop and we girls learned cooking. The first thing we did was make an apron and a hat like this. I still have that hat.
My name is Thelma Rubin, and I came to Berkeley in 1938. And we moved into Albany in 1957. And we moved here not for the school, as everyone does these days. We came here because the land and the housing was the cheapest in the area.
Bill Lewis, my great-grandparents, who did the same thing as Jimmy's grandparents, came from the Azores. And on my mother, that was my dad's side, and my mother's side, from Lassen County, Honeylake. My mother was born in Susanville, and when they moved down to this area, my grandfather was the foreman of the quarry over in El Cerrito, and Mosier Lane. And then my dad, on my dad's side, Grandpa, ran and built the Lewis and McDermott meat slaughterhouse down on 2nd Street. Mom had 7 girls and 2 boys. Yeah, I'm the youngest boys, and we didn't go to a hospital like Jack did. They're all born on Carlson Street. I rented for Borrego in 1957 and lived on Talbot Street for many years before I finally bought the house on Jackson Street. And I was here for 36 years. Loved it.
My name is Eldon Wolf, and I was born December 25th, 1923. Woo! Merry Christmas! And my mother was an immigrant from Hungary, and my father's people were Germans from Russia. And so anyway, I had a funny combination, but when I was in high school, I said someday I want to move down to San Francisco because it looks like they've got a real interesting city down there. Well, on November 25th of 1942, I had to join the Navy if I didn't want to be in the infantry for, guess what, World War II. So there I was, off to war. Well, when I finally got to Treasure Island on my training for radar and sonar and as a technician, that type of thing, I met a girl in Oakland, and I'll be damned if I didn't get married to her before I went to the Philippines. So I wrote her, while I was in the Philippines for almost a year and a half, I wrote her 435 letters, and she wrote me 385 letters. I still have them in the box. Well, anyway, when I got home, we had to find a place to live, and I was just a greenhorn, just 23 years old, expecting a baby, and so she says, we're going to look for a house, and that's how we happened to come out to Albany. It seemed like the only place we could afford. And when I got the GI loan, flat 4%, $8,750, and I said, my God, will I live long enough to pay it off? You did. I did. I paid it down to the last 500 bucks, and they were praying for me to pay it off and get it off, and I finally did. But anyway, Albany turned out to be the most heavenly place to raise a family. On our block on Peralta Avenue, which was a better district than being down on San Pablo, the neighborhood were all attached that there were so many children in different homes that back and forth the kids would be in and out of our houses to play and have a good time, and the neighbors were helping each other. It turned out to be a community that was just particularly lovely to live on. I couldn't find a better place to live, and I'm still there, not so far. Thank you.
I'm Walt Corvello, and I was born in Humboldt Hospital, which later became Albany Hospital, and which now is the library. And but my folks lived just on the other side of the line on the Berkeley side, so I went to school in Berkeley. And when I got married in 1950, we lived in the family house, but it was just a little house. And we needed a bigger place, and we found a big old house in Albany, and I've been here, 55 years or something in that neighborhood. And we just love Albany. My oldest boy lives in the family home in Berkeley on Keynes Avenue. So this area has been my home